help me welcome the LadyBEAST.
Hello, good morning, and welcome. I am a circus artist, a creative thinker, producer, director, and a stunt woman. I'm a woman, a partner, a loving mom to incredible animals, a friend, and also a daredevil. And sometimes, even I'm terrified. I am LadyBEAST. I like to think of myself as the personification of the intersection of where athlete meets artist. I've been both my entire life. As a child, I was motivated by moving my body and making drawings, and as an adult, I get to do both at the same time. Only now, the drawings are the movement of my body, live in front of you on the stage, a living capture of a moment that can only be created once in a lifetime. It's a shared experience with my audience who get to be a part of the drawing. Today, I'm here to talk to you about stress. And frankly, we all have way too much of it these days. And physical stress, which is very much a part of my job, is nothing compared to emotional stress. Now, stress and stress management isn't something you can master and move on. It isn't one and done and then it goes away. I strive daily to change the idea of stress management for myself and would love for you all to join me. From a finite task to making it an active practice in your life, as necessary as eating well or getting enough sleep for a better quality of life. Just to be clear, you can't go to the gym once and expect a six-pack of abs for a lifetime. You have to work at these things every day. And I strongly believe that stress management is the same. First, let's talk about how stress relates to my job personally. I risk my life for my job. It's an accepted part of the stakes, just as any other job has accepted parameters. I'm the first woman to escape from a straitjacket while hanging by my ankles 100 feet in the air. I'm also an equilibrius, otherwise known as a balancing artist. I walk on the tops of bottles with artistry, and I have balance on top of these bottles really high up in space, stacked up on other objects balancing, or even on top of a human with bottles on their chest. I might, in fact, be the first person and woman to do those things as well. Needless to say, I have stress in my job. And my stressful job, well, it's my whole life. And I have day-to-day stress too, just like all of you, especially in these strange times. Now, I want to tell you, no, I really need to tell you that I don't have the answers. Nope. And no one speaking truth does, in my opinion at least, but I would love to be wrong about that. I definitely have tried a lot of things, and I do have answers for myself and what has worked for me, and I hope after my talk you can walk away with some ideas of what might better work for you, or at least a new way to think about it. Every day, we have external and internal stressors. External stressors can be anything from finances, like how will I pay my bills? Or logistics, how will I get myself to work if my car broke down? Internal stress is even harder at times. Internal stress is things that you ask yourself, your own questions. Am I lovable? Am I on the right path? Should I let my boss talk to me that way? Am I too tall, thin, fat, short? We deal with these things every day, and we all find coping mechanisms to find a way to move forward and handle the influx of external and internal difficulties. I think using a number of strategies helps ease the mind and body, and it's much better than just one. I think it's even necessary. For me, I start with meditation and breath work. It is so frustrating and hard, and even I feel very resistant to it, but I'm talking about it. I find the space and time to accommodate this simple practice impossible to make room for. But for me, the work allows the mind to relax and the body. I'd personally do a few versions of meditation, but there's no right answer. And for me, the base is silent breath work. Even 5 minutes of breathing can change my whole world and my work. Breath is life. And when the stakes are high and the challenge is hard, I come to my foundation for answers, and that is my breath. So, these are my stakes. I can fall any number of ways, and believe me, I have, and I probably will again. I'm used to falling, though. I'm also extremely used to standing back up. But before I can take my first step, I must connect with my breath. I inhale, and then I exhale. This is the practice of stress management, but also bottle walking. If I hold my breath, I make myself handicapped. In order to make it look effortless, I have to breathe. If you practice, you can take more on and work towards mastery. The main thing for me is enjoying the process, showing up for yourself to conquer your fears and to manage your own emotions around high-stakes situations. Now, I might sound like a master, right? But I'm totally not. And no matter how much I practice and achieve, I still have a lot to learn, and I remain a novice. Full disclosure, I have anxiety, and I work really hard at it. I have flaws, and I work at those too. This stuff is extremely hard because you have to sit with yourself and deal with the layers of emotions attached to discomfort. The day before I became the first woman to hang in the air, escaping a straitjacket by my ankles, I cried. I wept. I screamed a lot. And I cursed. I was totally freaked out. But I allowed myself to be vulnerable before I needed to show up and be fearless and strong. Let me tell you something. A little tip from a circus artist. Being strong makes everything feel easier. Now that we've conquered our baseline stressors, at least for the moment, why don't we take a risk? They do bring more stress, but they also leave you confident about the stress you have left behind. Leave your newfound places of comfort and try something else. Each challenge makes the place you have left before your new comfort zone. Okay, so this time it's a lot harder. So I'm going to breathe, but I'm also going to smile because smiling really helps. Ta-da! Now we've been able to manage these high stakes with ease and been able to do it with a smile. I want you to think about, what if you let stress totally stop you? If you let the risk of impossible in your own thoughts take over, then you won't be able to walk through the door of possibilities and possibly stress. Or the possibility of success. Frankly, I do impossible things, not just for myself, but so all of you can do them for yourselves. Let me Vanna White this. Okay. These bottles are 0.67 ounces. They're, in fact, the tiniest bottles I've ever walked on. And now, they'll be the tiniest bottles I've ever walked on in front of a live audience. I'm asking a lot of myself. Seems impossible, right? Well, with my breath, a smile, and now I'm going to send myself positive thoughts. I can do it. I got this, and it's totally possible. Now let's say something exterior happens in your life, or interior. Both are so hard, and it feels like there's a mountain on your chest. You still have to show up for work. You still have to take care of yourself, meditate, eat well. And when the stress feels like it's too much, but we have to do it, and we can do it as long as we continue to breathe, take the next steps to believe in ourselves, and remind ourselves where we started. Practice stress management techniques, and also, really important, prioritize yourself every day. We can deal with stress and still be calm. It's a choice to be calm in discomfort, to face stress head on, and to care for yourself and keep putting one foot in front of the other, whether it's on a bottle or down the street. It's a fight for your life, for your health, and your mind and body. Find ways to move forward, find ways to take the next step. Remind yourself that your last steps, even though they were hard, feel easy now, they were there. And most of all, breathe.
The first question is, do you have any advice for someone who wants to start doing this kind of performance?
Ooh, get a great coach. I started as self-taught, and I had a lot of injuries that happened over the years, and I would say get a coach that really supports you. I have 4 coaches that I work with every week, but one of my best friends is one of my coaches, and her name is Lorelei Ash, and she's been teaching circus arts and aerial work for 25 or 30 years. Yeah.
How did you get started in this type of work, and how did you first become interested in this kind of work?
I'll give the short version. I was traveling around the United States in my tiny house that I built about 10 years ago, and I came to New Orleans. I was only going to be here for like 3 days, but I stayed for like 2.5 weeks, and I needed to make money, so I became a street performer, and then that tumbleweeded into me training and finding coaches and deciding like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Is there a particular program for breath exercises that you recommend?
Personally, I like Zen practice, which is a silent meditation, but I've heard that some people have success with that Calm app. I mean, I don't think there's a answer. I think it's just a preference.
What was the most stressful performance you've ever done?
The most stressful performance I've ever done. My TED Talk was really stressful. My partner Dominic builds my props, and we found a spot in the stage that was level for the chairs in the tech rehearsal, and for some reason it wasn't level, and we couldn't get the chairs level. As you saw, that the tower wobbles, and like 5 minutes before I needed to be totally dressed, hair and makeup, we were still trying to figure out what was up with the stage. We live in the South, it's humid, it's Louisiana. That changes how wood works.
Do you find it harder to perform without a live audience?
Oh yeah, totally. I feed off of a live audience. I mean, I want to have that interaction. I see the live audience as a way to connect with people, like we're all in it together. This is my first online show. I hope that you guys feel that I'm relatable, but it is very hard to be in this gorgeous theater and not have it filled with people screaming and catcalling and doing all the things while I'm dancing around on stage.
What goes through your head when you're hanging upside down from a balloon? Are you calm or anxious?
You have to be calm. Like, rule 1 of being an escape artist is you have to be calm, because there's always the thing that happens with doing something live. It's never going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to go to plan for one reason or another. And you do everything you can. I had 2 amazing riggers, these 2 women that I love so much, Acacia and Carla, that kept me really safe, and we did checks over and over of everything clipping me in and my safety backup and all that. And you just have to really be present in the moment, and that's why I feel drawn to breath work, because that's continually trying to be there, present in the moment with what's happening in front of you.
How do you find calm or refocus when you feel anxious or overwhelmed before performing?
Well, I perform in all different circumstances, whether something's happening in my personal life, or I know that something's going on with a friend, or, you still have, like, show goes on, right? So you have to set aside all of those thoughts and feelings and just be there on the stage and be there for your audience, because you're showing up for them. you have to make it not about yourself. You have to make it about the people that you're there for.
What are your future aspirations? Any other stunts you're working towards?
Yes, I am featured in Ripley's new book as their featured person. And I've been talking to Ripley's about doing some collaboration of some stunt ideas I have. I will say that I love Old World Circus, and one of my idols, Leona Dare, hung from a hot air balloon from the bottom of the basket by her teeth. So maybe something along those lines.
What do you eat before a performance?
Today I had a donut. Should I lie? I mean, I did. I had a donut. So I usually try to not have a really full stomach because I need to access my abdominal wall and my pelvic floor. So I try and have, if I'm being a good performer, I should have a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, and some roughage.
How do you research and learn about old world circus acts? I'd imagine it's not well documented.
Well, it is well documented. What isn't well documented in vaudeville, circus, and cabaret arts, I'm very passionate about all three, is the names of the people, not the stunts they did. A lot of times, the almost circus artists weren't remembered by who they were, but what they did. And that's a shame, and the same goes for cabaret artists and for vaudeville performers. New Orleans has a rich history, and I got to create a historical cabaret in this theater, and I got to collect relics of vaudeville, cabaret artists, and circus artists that people in town had garments of clothing. I mean, it's amazing. So this city specifically has a lot of history that you can research and find out about. My escape artistry is a passed down trade. Vaughn Avery is my escape coach, and he was an escape artist in his prime, and he passed it down to me, so he educated me more about that history, because it's a lot more than just Houdini. Yeah, so you just Google it. I don't know, how do you find information on anything, right? Google.
So this is kind of ties in, but Tracy followed up on that and says, do you have any recommendations for reading about classical circus, vaudeville, cabaret acts, presumably outside of just a Google search?
There's a book called Women in Circus that I definitely think you should check out. You know, the great thing about circus arts is that men can be flexible and effeminate, and women can be strong and masculine. Gender has always been blended in circus, and this book, Women in Circus, is really awesome because you get to see women doing all these incredible stunts in times where women didn't have a platform to be able to stand out in that way.
Awesome. All right, so that's our last question, LadyBEAST. And so it was a little clumsy when you came on our part, trying to give you an applause when you came down. So I'm going to attempt this right now. I think everybody should be able to unmute themselves. Unmute yourself, and we can all give her, LadyBEAST, a hand on the count of 3.
Well done.
Yeah, you gotta open a speaker somewhere.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, LadyBEAST, you're amazing. Yeah.
All right.